With the cuts happening yesterday, today at 4 o'clock, I'm recording this at 4:46, started adding players to the practice squad. So I'm going to go over the list of the players we added to the practice squad. I'm going to talk about the transcript from Brian Flores today. He had a lot of good things to say. And I'm going to get to one of you guys' comments of the day. Let's jump into this. What is up, Finn fans? Practice squad additions today, some claims, some cuts, a lot of movement's going to be happening for the next couple days. So I'll be making videos for the next couple days. But yes, today the Dolphins added about 10 players, 11 players to the practice squad. They claimed the player, we lost the player, all that stuff. And Brian Flores met with the press. I'm going to talk about all of it. But before I jump into that, I got to shout out two new members in Chris Vetter and Yit Wally U2. Hope I said your name right, Yit. But thank you guys so much for becoming members. If you'd like to, just hit that join button. If you want to become a Patreon, it's linked below. Also, patchvibes.com. Check them out. Use the promo code DDW2. You get yourself 20% off on some fantastic stuff. They have the Bass Pro Shop themed stuff. They have patches, pins, t-shirts. They're always coming out with new stuff. Check them out. Use the promo code DDW2. And Backroom Collections. I keep talking about them. Keep talking about how fantastic their artwork is. They keep coming out with new stuff. If you want special stuff, hit them up. They'll do it for you. And if you use the promo code DDW, you get yourself 10% off. So let's jump into some moves, right? So this is the practice squad area. If you look at the timeline, it's going to say practice squad. But I'm going to talk about some losses, some gains, and everyone added to the practice squad. So first off, Malcolm Perry gets claimed by the New England Patriots. I'm not surprised that happened. Malcolm Perry, I honestly think this is what's going to happen, and it's not a knock to Malcolm Perry. But I honestly think the Patriots are going to claim him, try to get information out of him about, what do the Dolphins playbooks look like and what do they got planned and this and that. And then they'll probably, either put him on the practice squad or waive him. Unfortunately, that's what they do. And the Miami Dolphins claim Elijah Campbell, cornerback, and they waive Jamal Perry. But don't worry, Jamal Perry didn't go far, because now I'm going to give you guys the list of practice squad players we've added. So far, there is 11, but technically 10, and I will tell you why technically 10 in 1 second. Linebacker Shaquem Griffin claimed on the practice squad. Very happy he made it back to the practice squad. Guard Deval Neto, he is an exemption on the practice squad. So essentially, that's why we have 11 physically, but 10 count against it. We put on the practice squad defensive end Jabal Sheard, which you're like, why is that so surprising? He's a 2011 second round pick, 53 career sacks. He's not a slouch. He's not like some undrafted guy that you throw on the practice squad. He's actually pretty good, so that's cool. My boy, the intern Patrick Laird, is on the practice squad. Linebacker Calvin Munson. Running back Garrett Dokes, very glad he made it through waivers and got to the practice squad. Again, we waived Jamal Perry, but he made it, so he's on the practice squad as well. Wide receiver Kirk Merritt. I know a lot of you guys were upset that Grant made it over Kirk Merritt, but Kirk Merritt makes it to the practice squad. Quarterback Reed Sinnett, the Hail Mary man. Cornerback Javaris Davis, and left tackle Adam Pankey. So technically we only have 10 on the practice squad because Neto is that exemption, so we still have room for 6 more, and I think 5 more of them can be 2 years or more vet, like Jabal Sheard. So if you guys didn't watch my video, I think it was like 2 or 3 videos ago, the 2020 rules for the practice squad are the same as this year. So essentially extension of the practice squad to 16 players, including up to 6 who have more than 2 cured seasons. Again, normally you can't have that on the practice squad. The ability to protect up to 4 practice squad players per week from being signed to other teams. So the Dolphins can look at their practice squad and be like, all right, Kirk Merritt, Shaquem Griffin, Garrett Dokes, and whoever else, we're going to protect them. You can't grab them. You can grab whoever else. Evaluation of up to 2 practice squad players to active roster without removing any current players before 4 p.m. So essentially, the Dolphins can take 2 practice squad players and put them on the active roster before 4 p.m. The day before a game, and they don't have to worry about having 55 men on the roster. Evaluation elevation, I don't know why I keep saying evaluation, of an additional practice squad player within 90 minutes before kickoff in the event of a late. So say, God forbid, let's say Malcolm Brown gets tested positive for COVID 90 minutes before the game starts. Well, we can bring Garrett Dokes up from practice squad. It doesn't really matter. Players placed on injury reserve can return after 3 weeks rather than 6 as in normal season, and removal of the limit of how many players can be activated from injured reserve. So that's just, again, a little update on what's going on with the practice squad. But again, as of me recording this, we have added 11. But again, Duval Neto doesn't really count. So we have 10, and we still have room for 6 more. So I'm expecting them to add more, maybe release and do some moves and that and all that good stuff. But that's what's going on with the practice squad. Now, Brian Flores came out and he had his presser, right? Yesterday, it was reported that Brian Flores, within his locker room, didn't make it known to the public, but of course somebody in the locker room leaked it out. But within his locker room, he sat down with the team, the entire team, standing in front of him and said, Tua Tagovailoa is our quarterback. Ignore all you're hearing about the Watson situation. Tua is our quarterback. Essentially putting a kibosh to that. And the reason I'm telling you that is because I think the third question I'm going to go over is they ask him about that. But they ask him, you had some tough decisions with the 53-man roster. What are you trying to get with some of the veterans that were released? He says, we're always trying to do what's best for our team, essentially talking about Benardrick McKinney. A lot of tough decisions really across the board starting last week or a couple of weeks ago, then culminating yesterday or the last couple of days. They are all tough decisions, veterans, some young players who we thought that played well in practice. We can only keep 53 and 16 on the practice squad. A lot of tough decisions, but we'll always try to do what's best for the team. And yeah, you saw what the Dolphins did with Benardrick McKinney, right? They traded for him. They essentially sent Shaq Lawson. We got Benardrick McKinney. We also gave him a 6th. They gave us a 7th. It was like, we lost about barely anything. Then they made him redo his they didn't make him, but they restructured his contract so that they could release him if they wanted to without any repercussions. That's kind of what they did. Can you detail what Trill Williams and Robert Jones showed you throughout camp in the preseason to make the 53-man roster? I think you two young guys who really made a lot of improvements from the spring to the early part of training camp. They getting into games and doing nice things. We just feel like those two guys, two young guys that we could continue to develop and work with. We feel like we continue development. We may have something, but still a lot of that is on their plate. We see some potential, but they're going to have to continue doing the things they started to do from a work standpoint, from a routine standpoint. I think they are two competitive guys that want to get better. And if you guys don't know about Robert Jones, in that Bengals game, he blocked a man off his feet. If I could find the clip, I'll pop it up. He threw his man. So that's probably why. Then we started talking about Tua. They say there was a report that you addressed the players and staff and stated that Tua is our quarterback. What can you tell us? Is that accurate? What was the message, and why did you choose to deliver a message about Tua? And he says, you guys know this. I don't really get into conversations I have with the team and the players. Those conversations are private. Like I've said before, I think it's just common courtesy to keep those conversations between myself and the players or the team. I will say that Tua is our quarterback. I think he's had a good training camp. I think he's made a lot of progress. I think he's had a lot of improvement, and we're pleased with where he is. He's going through his preparation for New England the way he should, and that's where we are as a team. And yes, the same reason why we don't know what's wrong with Javon Holland and why he didn't play the few preseason games and was out of practice and all this stuff. Brian Flores is not going to come out and address things, or he's not going to repeat himself. And this is one of the situations. Now, when he came out and they kept asking him about Deshaun Watson, he was just like, the conversations I have with my team and me are between that. Other than that, I'm not talking about it. One, he can't say like, oh yeah, we're interested in Deshaun Watson because that's tampering. But also he's just, with the conversations I'm having between my team is nothing. And he has constantly said, don't worry about it. It's always important to feel players that you have their back, but is it much more important for the quarterback to feel that way, do you think? He goes, yeah, I think it's important for players on the team to feel like they have the support from their teammates, their coaches, and everyone in the organization. I think that's very important. Yeah, I think that's important. So essentially he's saying in a nutshell that, yeah. And now he can't, if the Dolphins do trade for Deshaun Watson, he's going to lose the locker room. because you don't stand in front of your team and say he is our quarterback. And he didn't come out and say Tua Tagovailoa is the starter. Tua Tagovailoa is the starter this week. I've made Tua Tagovailoa the starter this week. He didn't say that. He came out and said Tua is our quarterback. So that's a complete difference from coming out and just naming him the starter. He said Tua is our quarterback to the team, which means, which I'm taking from, he ain't going nowhere. As of now. Again, if he does pull something and they trade for Deshaun Watson and they get rid of Tua, he might lose that locker room. That's all I'm saying. Do you think the team meeting you had yesterday, do you think that was enough? Do you think there is still a process of kind of maybe regaining some trust or anything that happens further? So essentially they're asking him, like, with all these rumors and stuff out there, he goes again and again, he doesn't like repeating himself. I'm not going to go into what I said in the team meeting. I think we got a team full of guys who work hard, who we will support one another. We are tough, who are smart, who love to play, and are team first. We'll go out and practice today and try to improve and get better and prepare for the upcoming games. I'm not talking about it, on to the next game. They asked him about the Patriots claiming Malcolm Perry and how does that affect or change you might have to make with the offensive playbook. He says, Malcolm's a tough kid, a hardworking kid. He's smart. I wish him the best. As far as changes, I don't think there are many changes. This happens really quite a bit, I would say, where you end up with a player who's on one team, then you think he's going to play down the road, or in that case, it will be the next game. I don't think we'll make any changes. I don't think we'll make very many changes. He said that twice. They asked him about Elijah Campbell, who we claimed he says tough, fast tackle as well. He can play in the kicking game. Probably why he claimed him, just like why Fedula made the team. We felt like he's good. In addition, I am glad we got him. They asked him. I'm skimming through it because if you guys want to watch the full press conference, they have it up. But I don't want to bore you guys by talking about every little thing he says. But they asked him about the offensive line because he said, you made a few trades and, how's your comfortability with the offensive line? He says, I'm comfortable. I think a lot of these guys have played a lot of football last year in the training camp. So I think they do a good job as a group, as a unit, going through the material, practicing, going through the material again, practicing it. I think there's good communication, but there's always kind of working on it. And they've got a good feeling for working with one another, I would say, over the past couple years. There's a couple new guys in there too, and we've mixed and matched, I think, enough where they all feel comfortable playing. I feel good, but we're still trying to improve and get better every day. So essentially he's saying, they're mixing and matching them and we're wishing for the best. He said they asked him about Mac Jones, said you talked a little bit about him. You spent some time with him at the Senior Bowl, what do you remember? He says he's smart, has a process of how he goes through things throughout the week, and I think it's a good process. He's a tough kid. You can feel that tough mentality, tough physical. You can see that in his play, and I was impressed. I'm hoping. See, if they could flex, I bet you they would have flexed this game to a Sunday night game because this game now just got a little bit more enticing, having Tua versus Mac Jones. Not only is it Dolphins Patriots, but now it's Tua versus Mac Jones. So I would love to see them flex it, but they can't. But 4:25, Sunday the 12th. They ask him essentially, the last one I'm going to talk about is they ask him about Mac Jones a little bit more, and they talk about is there something that as a defense that you guys can do for a rookie specifically, I'm drunk apparently, to make his first start difficult? And this is what he says. I think you'll try to make it difficult for any quarterback. Rookie kind of goes through that position, but it doesn't just happen because you talk about it. Everyone is saying that every week we've got to prepare the right way. We've got to get lined up, have a good communication so that we can have good execution, because if we don't do that, then we're not going to make it hard for anybody. So rookies, 15-year vets, we've got to execute defensively in order to make it harder for the opposition. So that kind of my thought on it. There's plenty of rookies we have gone out and played well against, and we've got to execute. I know why they're asking him that, because if you guys remember when the Dolphins faced the Chargers, And Justin Herbert, he kind of struggled against the Dolphins defense, especially that amiibo defense or the zero blitz, and where you had a ton of guys just standing up. It's hard to read who's coming after you and who's dropping back. And at one point for an entire drive, the Chargers just ran the ball because they said that Herbert was just completely confused by our defense. I think that's why they're asking him, because he's a good defensive coach and he can throw things at you to mess with your head. And I expect them to do that to Mac Jones. I'm not going to go into full detail on breaking this down because, again, that's going to happen the Friday before the game. Next week, I got a ton of videos planned. I'll talk about that after I do comment of the day. But I think that's why they asked him. But that's what he had to say. And in a nutshell, he answered some things and he didn't answer others. And he is the type of coach that you'll know if you need to know. And if you don't need to know, you're not going to know. So all this speculation, like I said yesterday, just ignore it. Just ignore it. But be sure to comment below. What do you think about the guys that made it to practice squad? What do you think about what Brian Flores had to say? And what do you think about who would you want to add? Again, there's still a spot left open for 6 more players. So who else is out there that you want to add? And other than that, I'm going to get to comment of the day. Now, this comment comes from Jason Cohen. And Jason says, comment of the day. He yells this part at me, but I don't want to yell it. He says, why does everyone keep writing us off? We went 10-6 last year, and in my opinion, we acquired more talent this year. So how does everyone have us regressing to 3rd in the AFC East? And I hope I have a good answer for that, and I can explain it to you. For the past 20 years, the Miami Dolphins have been mediocre, right? We've had some bad seasons, 1-15. We've had some okay seasons, 11-5, 10-6, 10-6 again. We've had 9-7, 7-9, 8-8. Very mediocre. The thing the Dolphins have never done in the past 20 years, I'd say after 2003, is string together good seasons, right? 2008, we go 11-5, we win the division the next year, nothing. All of a sudden, Tony Soprano's out. We're starting all over again, right? 2016, we clinch a playoff spot in week 16, 10-6, go with that. Finally make it to the playoffs again. We get stomped out by the Steelers next year. Complete and utter unluckiness with hurricanes, with coaches, with players walking off, fall apart. So what the Dolphins need to do to stop being written off is put together good seasons, to be consistent. The reason why the Dolphins, for some people, are moved down to 3rd, right? Some people don't like Tua Tagovailoa. And I say some because there are people out there that like him and think that the Dolphins will do better. Also, some people think that the offensive line is going to be a Achilles heel for this team. Also, the Patriots are the Patriots. The Patriots added a ton of talent. So that is it as well, that, all right, well, Bill Belichick's still there, and they added so many players in the offseason, so they're going to be better. It's a combination of all those things. You just got to keep winning, and then people will start shutting up. But I hope I answered your question, Jason. But that is the video. Again, if more news happens, I will make a video. If big news happens, like if big trades happen, or if we add more people to practice squads and stuff, I'll make a video on that. But that is the video. Like I said, next week starts my process of getting ready for the season. So September 6th, I'm going to put my record prediction video out where I go through the schedule and pick who we're going to beat and who we're going to lose to and all of that stuff. Wednesday, the Wednesday before the game is going to be the picks video. The Friday is going to be the preview video. And then on the 12th, I will be live for the Miami Dolphins taking on the New England Patriots. So this week I got some things planned. You're going to have to subscribe and be surprised. But other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. But like usual, stay classy. Have fins up.